Welcome to our next session of AASHTOWare project training. This session is on contract times, and there are three different times that are covered in this: informational, which in Site Manager were the key dates and critical dates; site times, which was the contract times or the main contract time; and we have a new one called recurring, and I'll cover that at the end. This particular portion of the training is meant for project managers. So I'm in my project manager role, and that's the interface that you'll see as we're going through our training today. To be able to access contract times, there are two different locations from the dashboard that you can get to it from. You'll see this contract time. This particular link will allow you to see all of the contract times that you have access to for your contract. So this would be a combination across, if you have 5 contracts you have access to, you'll see all of the times for that. If you just want to work from one particular contract at a time, this contract administration link will be able to show you that. So I will go ahead and step into contract time first, just to give you a sense for what that looks like. But for the main portion of the work that we're going to do here, I'm going to be showing that from the contract administration part of the system. So here you can see we have a filter box, and obviously I'm able to see a lot of different particular contracts in here. But if I wanted to narrow it down to, say, just the one that I'm interested in, the one that I'll be working with today is actually going to be AWTRNCC. And you can see that filters down for me here so that I can have just the times that I'm interested in looking at. It does list all of them together. You can see kind of an abbreviation on the left here. You can see the description here in the middle, and I'll bring my header back up here so we can see the different field descriptions. But you can also see then this particular one is my main contract time, telling me it's active, and it's telling me the time type. So just a little bit of information here. If I wanted to do it by maybe a particular time type, maybe I just want to see all the main contract time types that I would have, I could put in my filter for that. And now you can see I have multiple contracts that are showing up for me, each with just the 00AT. And of course, if there was a slight different filter, then I might want to adjust that. But you can see if you do have a lot of contracts that you have access to, that can still give you quite a few to look at. So just kind of a preference there. So I'm going to step back to the dashboard, and I want to go back into contract administration. So here I want to narrow this down to the contract that I want to be able to access my contract times. So I'm going to go back in, enter my filter, narrow down to just my contract, and able to look at my description here. So I can click into my contract. And at this point, I have my information showing up here on the screen. And I can see I have a contract times tab. When I click on that, it's going to show me all of my contract times for this particular contract. So I'm going to go up here and just collapse my informational, my site, and my reoccurring, and just so that we can look at it and see that there are 3 different types of times that are going into this. And again, the informational times, these are your key dates and critical dates that you were used to seeing in Site Manager. You should see the same, even just the same codes here. You know, ACTS was your contractor actual start work. You don't have to pay attention to that. If you do it just by the description, you can always go into that. You can see that we also have the projected completion date and the actual completion date. The actual completion date is the one that you'll most often want to be entering your dates into. That field is what the system uses in order to do calculations, although it will follow the same functionality that you had in Site Manager as well. You can see the record source. This is letting me know where this particular time was created in. You can see I have one that came in from pre-construction. This is the award date. You can see a lot of them come in from construction. This is required for. This allows you to see whether it's required for the contract to be activated or the contract to be closed, or neither, which is the most often used one. For the most part, well, for any of the times that you actually enter as a project manager, you'll enter it as a neither. And then if you have any particular comments that you want to enter for a particular time, you're able to enter those as well. So I'm going to take us through just a couple exercises working with these informational times. So one that you might want to be able to do or would need to do as you're starting up a project is entering the contractor actual started work. You can see we have a little date picker field here. And if I want to go ahead and set my contractor start date, I'm going to go ahead and say that we actually started all the way back here in January. Let's say it was a really early start back here on the 8th. You can see it does give us a time. The system doesn't actually use the time, we just use the date. So you don't have to worry about setting that to any particular value. So you're able then to just go in, say, I want this particular date, and that'll count for you. You'll note that once I have entered a field here, I've got my information saying there's unsaved changes. And I want to save my changes. My button's available, so I'll go ahead and click on that. We do have this warning message that pops up that says the field delete allowed is restricted. And this is a known issue. We're not sure exactly what's causing this. We are working to remove this warning so that it's not in here. It doesn't have any effect on the system as you're using it. So you can just close it out or just ignore it and you'll be fine there. So the next thing I want to be able to demonstrate is adding a couple different informational times, like a work suspension, work resume, and an observation period. So we can see that we have a select informational times button here. And this allows us to click on that. It's going to pull up my modal window. I want to see all of my time types. So I'm going to click in my filter box and press enter. And now we can see the different work or contract times that are in here. I'm going to go ahead and put in a work suspended example. And just because I'm doing the nature of training here, I'm going to assume that we can do multiple ones if we want to be able to do this. So I can actually put in multiple time types at the same time just by selecting them. I want to note here on the right side where it says allow duplicate. You see some of these are no, some of them are yes. When it's a yes, just like you may have multiple times when you're suspending work, that allows you to have multiple times where you can enter this value. So I'm going to go ahead and add these to the contract. And you can see it scrolled down to where I've actually added them. And I have my two new entries here. You can see that I have an X on it. If I accidentally added one, I can remove it out by clicking that X even before I've saved it to be able to remove that. So my work suspended, in this case, I'm going to go to my date picker, and my work was suspended on February 1st. I'll enter that information, and then my work resumed on February 15. So I'll be able to get that entry. So these two are now filled out. They're ready to go. One note I guess I should make is that the time description, you can't have two entries that are the exact same description. So since this is my first work suspended, I'm just going to add a -1. And then also with my work resumed, add a -1. That lets me know, lets the system know that this is my first entry, and me know. If I have my second entry, when I add that work suspend, I'm just going to add a -2 and just keep going on if I have multiples that would continue out after that. So at this point, I'm going to hit my back to top button, hit save. And now I have those two entries added in there. I also wanted to add an observation period. So I can come back to my select information times, click on the button there, click on my filter field. Or likewise, if I just wanted to type in here, of course, I could actually just type in, start typing in observation. It's going to filter it down, and I'll just select that. I can see this also allows for duplicates, so I can have multiple observations that are added to the contract. And here we have it suffixed with end date. So you know, if I know that my temporary paint is going to be done, or that observation period ends on 04 of 15/20/21, I want to go ahead and enter that date into it, and I can add additional information in there as well. But I want to make sure that I know it's my observation period, and I'd follow your standard methods for tracking observation periods here. Once you do have that actual completion date, you'll be able to come back in and enter that information here. And you can leave yourself some comments as well to be able to give yourself some additional information. What do I need to do with this observation period? And this will match up. You'll get the, just like you do in Site Manager currently with the email saying, hey, you've got an observation period, you'll get a notification that comes with these as well. So I've got my information entered here. I'm going to hit back to top, hit my save button. And now I've got my entries created there. And just for some familiarity too, with just being able to look through some of these informational dates. Of course, we looked at that one. We had the award date here. And I'll just scroll through slowly. You see the execution date. Get your letting date. Notice to proceed. Project completion date here. So seeing some of that type of information here as we're going through. So that covers the informational contract times.